Hi everyone! In this video we will subtract rational expressions with different denominators. The first thing we need to do is look at the two denominators and see if we can factor them. The first thing we always check for is the greatest common factor, and there's nothing in common with either of them. So now we look at the first one. Both of these fall in the form of a equals 1. This means that I just need to look at C and factor C. So the first one is 24 and find all the factors. We have 1 and 24. 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6, and it looks like we're all done. Now let's find a combination. We have a positive here, which means the signs are the same, and a negative here, which says all the signs will be negative. Now we need to find a combination to give us negative 11, and negative 3 and negative 8 will do that. So we'll replace that, and we get m squared minus 3m minus 8m to replace the negative 11m plus 24. And now we need to find a group that factored by grouping and find a greatest common factor. For the first one, it's m, so we have m minus 3. With the second one, we have a subtraction sign here, so we'll factor out a negative. And in common, they both have 8. So we're left with positive m minus 3. Now between these two terms, we'll factor out the common binomial, which is m minus 3, and we're left with m minus 8. So our first one factors into m minus 3, m minus 8. Now our second one follows the same form, so we just need to factor the negative 30, which is 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, 5 and 6. And we have a negative here, so we know that the signs will be opposite or different. And this is a positive, so we know that the larger of the two will be positive when we add them together. So we'll make these all positive and these all negative. And we want a combination that will give us positive 7. And it looks like negative 3 plus 10 will do that. So now we replace that, and we have m squared minus 3m plus 10m, using the two factors we had found to replace the positive 7m, and then minus 30. Now we factor by grouping. The first two have a greatest common factor of m, so we have m minus 3, and the second two have a greatest common factor of positive 10, so we have m minus 3. Now we have two terms with the greatest common factor of m minus 3, so we'll pull that out, dividing them both by m minus 3, and we're left with m plus 10. So our second denominator is m minus 3, m plus 10. If we line these up to find the lowest common denominator, the first one has the two factors of m minus 3, m minus 8. And the second denominator has a factor of m minus 3 and m plus 10. So the lowest common denominator is m plus 3, or m minus 3, and we need an m minus 8, and we need an m plus 10. Now we need to multiply the first denominator by what's missing, which is m plus 10. And I need to multiply it to the numerator as well to keep the fraction balanced, m plus 10. And the second denominator is missing the factor of m minus 8. So I need to multiply it to the numerator and the denominator. And so for our numerator, we can just do, for the first one, the distributive property, which gives us 7m plus 70. With our second numerator, we'll need to do the FOIL method. The first times the first gives us m squared, the outside gives us minus 8m, the inside gives us positive 10m, and the last gives us negative 80. Then we combine like terms, so our middle term is positive 2m. So we have m squared plus 2m minus 80, and this is the numerator. So let's subtract m squared plus 2m minus 80. And this is over the new denominator for our first one of m minus 3, m minus 8, m plus 10. And our second denominator is m minus 3. Let's go ahead and switch these just so that they match. M minus 8 and m plus 10. And we can do that because multiplication is commutative, meaning it doesn't matter the order. Now that we're going to subtract, we need to distribute this negative into each term of the numerator of the second one because we'll be subtracting that. So we have 7m plus 70, and now we will be subtracting m squared minus 2m plus 80. And this is all over our lowest common denominator. And just to save us a little bit of time, I'm going to put LCD, which we know is this. And we'll put that in our final answer. Now we're going to combine like terms. We have positive 7m minus 2m, and we have positive 70, positive 80. So let's rewrite this as negative m squared. Positive 7 minus 2 gives us positive 5m. Positive 70 plus positive 80 gives us positive 150. And then this is all over our lowest common denominator, which we found, m minus 3, m minus 8 times m plus 10. Now, a little different than what we were doing in the previous section is we will be going through and factoring our answer now. So to factor our numerator, we need to factor out a negative. And so we have m squared minus 5m minus 150 over our lowest common denominator. We'll get back to that in a minute. Now let's factor our m squared minus 5m minus 150. This is in the form of a equals 1, so we just need to factor the 150. And because we're running out of room, I'm just going to give it to us that it's 10 and 15. 10 and 15 for our 150. And we know that they are going to be different signs because this is a subtraction. And we need the larger of the two to be negative, so it'll be negative 15 plus 10. Because I'm running out of room, we're going to have to squeeze it in up here. So we have m squared plus 10m minus 15m minus 150. And then we will factor the first two and the second two by grouping. The first two have a greatest common factor of m, so we have m plus 10. And the second two have a greatest common factor of negative 15, so we have m plus 10, which we will factor out the m plus 10, and we are left with m plus 10, and then we have m minus 15, which makes our numerator negative m plus 10 times m minus 15 all over our lowest common denominator, which we found as m minus 3, m minus 8, and m plus 10. This is significant because we have a factor that will cancel out, m plus 10, and we're left with negative m minus 15 over m minus 3 times m minus 8. And we can distribute our negative back through so that we end up with negative m plus 15 over m minus 3 times m minus 8, which is our answer. And we've now subtracted and simplified this subtraction between these rational expressions. And now we're all done.